I never thought a 2-minute car ride could change my entire life. But that's exactly what happened on Christmas Day, when my husband whispered 5 words that made my blood run cold. The morning started perfectly. I woke up early, excited and buzzing with energy. Christmas music played softly from my phone as I moved around the kitchen, preparing the side dishes I planned to bring to my parents' house. Green bean casserole, my mum's favourite. Sweet potato pie, my dad's tradition. I'd been planning this meal for weeks, wanting everything to be absolutely perfect. Nathan sat at the kitchen table watching me work. I could feel his eyes on me as I checked the oven temperature for the 3rd time, smoothed down my new red dress and rearranged the dishes in their carriers. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. I smiled at him. My wonderful husband of 3 years. "Thank you. I just want today to go well. It's been months since we've seen my parents." "I know," Nathan said, but something in his voice sounded off. I was too busy to notice. We loaded everything into the car carefully. I held the pie on my lap, not trusting it to sit in the back. As Nathan started driving, I felt that familiar flutter in my stomach, excitement mixed with something else I couldn't quite name. Nervousness, maybe. But why would I be nervous? These were my parents, my family. "Tell me about Christmas when you were little," Nathan said as we drove through our neighbourhood. I thought about it, searching my memory for specific stories. Oh, it was wonderful. My mom always decorated the house so beautifully. Everything was perfect. And my dad would carve the turkey so expertly. They really knew how to make the holidays special. "What was your favourite gift you ever got?" Nathan asked. I opened my mouth to answer, then paused. What was my favourite gift? I couldn't remember a specific one. "I don't know," I said with a laugh. There were so many nice things over the years. My parents were always very generous. Nathan nodded, but didn't say anything else. I looked out the window, watching the houses pass by. We were getting closer to my childhood neighbourhood now. The streets looked familiar, bringing back feelings I couldn't quite put into words. Comfort, maybe. Or was it something else? My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "What time will you arrive? Everything is ready." I checked the time. We were actually ahead of schedule. "We'll be there in about 5 minutes," I texted back. "We're early," I told Nathan. "Maybe we can help them set up." "That's exactly what I was thinking," Nathan said, but his voice sounded tight. I adjusted my dress again, checking my reflection in the mirror on the sun visor. Was my lipstick okay? Was my hair sitting right? I smoothed it down, then checked again. "Peace," Nathan said gently. "You look perfect. Stop worrying." "I'm not worrying," I said automatically, but my hands were shaking slightly as I closed the visor. Why was I so nervous? This was silly. These were my parents. I loved them. They loved me. Everything was going to be wonderful. We turned onto my parents' street. The houses here were large and beautiful, set back from the road with perfect lawns and expensive cars in the driveways. My parents' house was at the end, the biggest one on the block. I could see it now, decorated exactly how I remembered. White Christmas lights along every edge of the roof, a wreath on the door with red ribbons. Everything looked magazine perfect. I was reaching for my phone to text my mom that we'd arrived when Nathan's entire body went rigid. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. His face lost all its colour in an instant. "Nathan," I said, concerned, "are you okay?" He didn't answer. His eyes were locked on something ahead of us. We were maybe 2 houses away from my parents' driveway now, close enough to see their front window clearly. "Nathan, what's wrong?" I asked again, starting to feel scared. I'd never seen him look like this. He looked terrified. "Turn the car around," he whispered. His voice was shaking. "Now." "What?" I didn't understand. We were right here. Dinner was about to start. "Why?" "Turn around, please." Nathan still wouldn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on my parents' house, and the fear in his face made my heart start racing. "Nathan, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "Trust me," he said, and now he did look at me. His eyes were wide, panicked. "Please, peace, trust me. Turn the car around right now." I'd never heard him sound like this, never seen him look like this. Something was seriously, terribly wrong. My hands moved on instinct, turning the steering wheel, making a U-turn right there in the middle of the street. The pie nearly slid off my lap. The dishes in the back rattled. As we drove away, I kept looking back at my parents' house, confusion flooding through me. We were supposed to be there. They were expecting us. What would they think when we didn't show up? But Nathan's fear was real. I could see him checking the rearview mirror over and over, his breathing fast and shallow. Whatever he'd seen, it had scared him badly enough to make us leave. "Where are we going?" I asked quietly. "Away from there," Nathan said. "Somewhere public. Somewhere safe." Safe? Why wouldn't my parents' house be safe? Nathan drove for about 10 minutes, checking the mirrors constantly like he thought someone might be following us. Finally, he pulled into a coffee shop parking lot. It was one of those chain places, busy even on Christmas Day with people stopping in for drinks before their family gatherings. He turned off the car and sat there breathing hard. His hands were still shaking. "Nathan," I said softly. "Please tell me what's happening." He closed his eyes. "I saw something through your parents' window, something that made me realize we couldn't go in there, that it wasn't safe." "What did you see?" My voice came out small, frightened. Nathan turned to face me. "Peace. I saw photographs. Dozens of them. Covering an entire wall in your parents' living room. Photographs of you." "Well, that's normal," I said, confused. "Parents have photos of their children." "Not like these," Nathan said. "These weren't family photos. These were surveillance photos. Pictures taken from a distance, from angles where you clearly didn't know you were being photographed. Recent pictures, Peace, from the last few months. You leaving work, you at the grocery store. Us at that Italian restaurant last week. They've been following you, watching you. Documenting your movements." I felt cold all over. "That can't be right. You must have seen wrong." "I didn't," Nathan said firmly. "And there was more. On the table, I saw legal documents spread out. I couldn't read them from the street, but they had a lawyer's letterhead on top. And Peace." He hesitated. "There was medical equipment, a syringe, medication vials, like they were preparing something." "No," I whispered. "No, that doesn't make sense. My parents wouldn't." "They invited you to Christmas dinner, had surveillance photos of you on display, legal papers laid out, and medical supplies ready. Peace, they were planning something. I don't know exactly what, but every instinct I have was screaming danger." I stared at him, my mind refusing to accept what he was saying. My parents, my loving, devoted parents who'd raised me, who'd always taken care of me, who wanted what was best for me. But even as I thought those words, something stirred in the back of my mind. A memory trying to surface, a feeling I'd buried long ago. My phone started ringing. Mum's name lit up the screen. I looked at Nathan, then at my phone, then back at Nathan. My hand hovered over the phone, trembling. "Don't answer it," Nathan said. "Not yet. Not until we figure out what's really going on here." The phone kept ringing, and ringing, and ringing. The phone finally stopped ringing, then immediately started again. This time it was my dad calling. I let it go to voicemail. Nathan was right. Something was very wrong, and I needed to understand what before I talked to them. "I need to tell you something," Nathan said, looking guilty. "Something I did that you might be angry about." I turned to face him fully. "What?" "2 weeks ago, I called Kevin, your brother. I found his number in your phone and reached out to him without telling you." My mouth fell open. "You called Kevin? Why would you do that?" Nathan ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I recognized. "Because I've been worried about you for a while now, about your relationship with your parents, about how you act around them. I wanted to talk to someone who knew them, who grew up with them. I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy for thinking something felt off." "What did Kevin say?" I asked, my heart beating faster. He wouldn't tell me details over the phone. But Peace, his exact words were, "If you see anything that feels wrong at that house, trust your gut. Get Peace out of there." He was afraid for you. And now I understand why. I shook my head, trying to process this. "Kevin stopped talking to our family years ago. He got weird and distant. My parents said he was going through some kind of crisis." "Did they?" Nathan asked gently. "Or did they tell you not to contact him, not to ask questions?" I opened my mouth to argue, but the words died in my throat, because Nathan was right. 4 years ago, Kevin had called me upset about something. I remembered my mom standing next to me while I talked to him, listening to every word. After I hung up, she'd said Kevin was being dramatic, that he was stressed from work, that I should give him space. And I had. I'd stopped calling him, stopped asking why he never came home. "Oh my God," I whispered. Nathan reached over and took my hand. "Over the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to understand your family. I've asked you about childhood memories and Peace. Every answer you give is vague. You say things were nice and special, but you can't describe specific moments. You can't tell me about birthday parties or funny stories or even what your bedroom looked like." "Yes, I can." I said defensively. My bedroom was... It had... I stopped. Why couldn't I picture it clearly? It was nice. It had a window. What colour were the walls? Nathan asked. I struggled to remember. Blue? Or maybe pink? I don't know why I can't remember. I looked up your parents online, Nathan continued. Your dad's social media is completely locked down. Your mum's is strange too. Perfect photos, but no real friends, no comments allowed, no actual community presence. For people who've lived in the same town for 35 years, they seem to exist in isolation. My phone buzzed with a text. Mum again. Where are you? Call me immediately. Another text came right after. This is very disrespectful. We've prepared everything for you. Then from Dad. Your mother is upset. Call her now. I felt that old familiar feeling in my chest. Guilt, anxiety, the desperate need to fix things, to make them happy, to be good. Nathan watched my face. You're feeling guilty right now, aren't you? They're waiting for us, I said quietly. They made dinner. They're worried. They have surveillance photos of you on their wall piece. They've been stalking you. That's not normal parent behavior. That's not love. That's control. You don't understand, I said, but even as I spoke, I wasn't sure what I was defending anymore. They've always been protective. That's just how they are. Protective or controlling? Nathan pulled out his phone. I got a text from Kevin 3 days ago. I need to show you something. He handed me his phone. Kevin's message read, My therapist calls it a trauma response. That's why I can't go back to that house. Please protect my sister. She doesn't remember everything, but her body does. Watch her around them. I read it 3 times. Trauma response. She doesn't remember everything. The words swam in front of my eyes. I don't have trauma, I said weakly. I had a normal childhood. Then why can't you remember it? Nathan asked. Why does your brother have a therapist because of your parents? Why haven't you seen him in 4 years? Why do you get anxious every time your mum calls? I don't get anxious. Yes, you do. You straighten up. You change your voice. You pick your words carefully like you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. After every phone call with them, you're exhausted. I've been watching this for 3 years, Peace. I just didn't realize what it meant until I talked to Kevin. My head was starting to hurt. There was pressure building behind my eyes like something was trying to push its way out of a locked room in my mind. Nathan's voice got softer. Tell me about your friend Amy. From middle school. The name hit me like a physical blow. Amy. I hadn't thought about Amy in years. Suddenly I could see her face clearly. Dark, curly hair. Bright smile. She used to make me laugh so hard. Amy was my best friend, I said slowly. The memory was coming back now, piece by piece. We did everything together, but then... She moved away. Did she? Nathan asked. Or is that what your parents told you? The locked room in my mind was cracking open. I remembered now. Amy crying in the school hallway, the principal calling her into the office, rumours that Amy had been bullying me, that she'd done terrible things. But I'd never said she bullied me. I'd never complained about her at all. My mum had picked me up early from school that day. Amy wasn't a real friend, she'd said in the car. She was dangerous. She was trying to separate you from your family. We had to protect you. I'd tried to call Amy that night, but the number didn't work anymore. I'd asked about her at school, but the teachers said her family had transferred her to another school. I'd cried for weeks. They made her disappear, I whispered, the full memory flooding back now. Amy didn't move away. They got her kicked out of school. They told lies about her. They took her away from me because we were too close. Nathan squeezed my hand tighter. More memories were surfacing now, faster than I could process them. My dad reading my diary and yelling at me for the thoughts I'd written. My mom listening to my phone calls on the extension in their bedroom. The time I wanted to join the school art club and my mom told the teacher I had a medical condition that prevented it. The scholarship to summer art camp that I'd supposedly failed to get into, except years later, I'd found a congratulations letter hidden in the back of my dad's filing cabinet. Every friend I'd tried to make. Every activity I'd wanted to join. Every interest I'd developed that wasn't approved by them. They'd found ways to block all of it, to isolate me, to keep me dependent on them. And only them. I won't let them take you back, Nathan said firmly. Whatever they were planning today, it's not happening. You're safe now. But even as he said it, my phone started ringing again. And this time, it didn't stop. They kept calling, over and over. Mom, Dad, Mom again. Unknown numbers that I suspected were them calling from other phones. Finally, I answered. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Hello? Peace, sweetie. My mum's voice was sugary sweet, but I could hear the steel underneath it. We've been so worried. Where are you? I looked at Nathan. He nodded encouragingly. I'm not coming to dinner, I said. My voice sounded small. There was a long pause. What did you just say to me? I said I'm not coming to dinner. My voice was stronger this time, even though my whole body was shaking. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched out so long I thought she'd hung up. Then my mother's voice came back, and the sweetness was completely gone. You listen to me very carefully, Peace. Your father and I have spent all day preparing this meal. We've set a place for you. We've been waiting. And you're going to get in that car right now and come to this house like the daughter you're supposed to be. No, I said. The word felt foreign in my mouth. I'd never said no to my mother before, not once in 32 years. Excuse me? Her voice was ice cold now. What has gotten into you? Is this Nathan's doing? Has he been putting ideas in your head? Nathan saw the photos, I said quietly. The surveillance photos you have of me. On your wall. Dead silence. Then. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Photos of me leaving work, at the grocery store, at restaurants. You've been following me, watching me, taking pictures without my permission. You're being ridiculous, my mother said, but I could hear the panic creeping into her voice. We're your parents. We have every right to stalk me? To spy on me? No, you don't. I'm 32 years old. I'm married. I have my own life. That's exactly the problem. My mother's voice rose sharply. You have gotten too independent, too influenced by outsiders. You need to remember who you are, who you belong to. I don't belong to anyone, I said. But my stomach twisted with guilt as I said it. That old programming ran deep. Peace Annette Henderson, you will stop this nonsense right now. You're being hysterical and dramatic just like your brother. And we all know how that turned out. Do you want to end up like Kevin? Alone, miserable, cut off from everyone who truly cares about you? Kevin. The mention of my brother sent another wave of memories crashing over me. Kevin trying to tell me something 4 years ago. Kevin's voice desperate on the phone. Kevin saying our parents weren't who I thought they were. And me, brainwashed and blind, defending them, choosing them over him. Kevin isn't miserable, I said. Kevin got away from you. That's what he did. Kevin is sick in the head, my mother snapped. He's filled with lies and delusions. His therapist has poisoned his mind against us. And if you keep talking to him, if you keep listening to Nathan, the same thing will happen to you. You'll lose everything. Your family, your support system. Everything that matters. You're not my support system, I said. And as I spoke the words, I realized they were true. You're my prison. You always have been. How dare you? My mother's voice turned shrill. After everything we've sacrificed for you, we gave you life. We raised you. We protected you from a dangerous world. We made sure you had everything you needed. Everything except freedom, I said. Everything except choices. Everything except my own life. Nathan was watching me, pride and concern mixing on his face. He was right there beside me, solid and real, reminding me I wasn't alone in this. You're making a terrible mistake, my mother said, her voice dropping to something low and threatening. If you don't come to this house right now, there will be consequences. Serious consequences. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Your father and I have made arrangements for your well-being. We have legal documentation. We have medical opinions from professionals. We can prove that you're not in your right mind, that you need help, that you need to come home where you can be properly cared for. My blood ran cold. The legal papers Nathan had seen, the syringe, the medication. What were you planning to do to me? I whispered. We were planning to help you, my mother said. We consulted with doctors who agree that you've been showing signs of mental instability. Your father has a friend who's a psychiatrist. He's prepared to sign the necessary papers to have you placed under our care temporarily, for your own safety. You were going to drug me, I said, horror washing over me. You invited me to Christmas dinner so you could drug me and have me declared incompetent, so you could take control of my life again. It's not like that, my mother said quickly. You're twisting everything. We just want to help you. You've been under so much stress. Nathan has been a bad influence. You need time away from him to think clearly, to remember who you really are. I know exactly who I am, I said, and I'm done with this conversation. Peace, don't you dare hang up on me. I ended the call. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Immediately it started ringing again. Dad this time. "Don't answer it," Nathan said. "You don't owe them anything, not even an explanation." But I answered anyway. I needed to hear what my father would say. The man who'd always been so quiet, so authoritative. The one whose word was final in our house. Peace. My father's voice was calm, measured. So different from my mother's hysteria. This was the voice that had controlled me my entire life, deep and certain and absolute. "Your mother is very upset. You need to fix this. By coming to your house? So you can drug me and have me declared mentally incompetent? Is that what your mother told you?" He sighed. "She gets emotional. She exaggerates. Let me explain what's really happening. Nathan has been isolating you from your family. Classic signs of abuse. We've documented it. His controlling behavior. The way he's turned you against us. We have a responsibility as your parents to intervene." I almost laughed. The projection was so blatant. Nathan isolating me. You had cameras in my bedroom when I was growing up. You controlled who I could talk to. You destroyed my friendships. You lied about scholarships so I couldn't leave home. You drove Kevin away when he tried to be independent. "Kevin was always troubled," my father said smoothly. "You know that. He needed structure and discipline, just like you do. You're too emotional, Peace, too easily influenced. That's why you need guidance. That's why we've always had to make decisions for you." "I'm 32 years old. Age doesn't matter. You'll always be our daughter. You'll always need us, and we'll always do whatever is necessary to protect you, even from yourself." His voice hardened. "Now stop this foolishness and come home. I won't ask again." The word home struck something deep inside me. Their house had never been home. It had been a beautiful cage, a prison that looked perfect from the outside. "I'm not coming," I said. "I'm never coming back to that house. And if you try to force me, if you try to use those legal papers or those doctors or any of your plans, I'll fight you. I'll tell everyone what you've done, what you've been doing." "No one will believe you," my father said calmly. "We're respected members of this community. We have documentation of your instability. We have witnesses who'll testify that you've been acting strangely. Your word against ours? Against our reputation? You'll lose." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll still try. And you know what else? Kevin will back me up. He knows the truth. He's been living with the truth for years. Kevin is a liar with mental health issues. His testimony is worthless." "Then I guess we'll find out," I said. "Goodbye, Dad." Peace. I hung up. This time when the phone rang again, I turned it off completely. Nathan wrapped his arms around me. I was shaking from head to toe, adrenaline flooding my system. I'd just stood up to my parents for the first time in my entire life. I'd said no. I'd refused them. I'd called out their lies. And I was terrified. "They're going to come here," I whispered. "They know where we live. They're going to come and try to take me." "Then we leave," Nathan said firmly. "We pack a bag, and we go somewhere they can't find us. And we call Kevin. And we call the police. Because what they were planning to do to you today, that's kidnapping. That's false imprisonment. That's illegal, Peace." I looked up at him, this man who'd seen the danger I'd been blind to, who'd trusted his instincts and saved me. "How did you know?" I asked. "How did you see it when I couldn't?" "Because I love you," Nathan said simply. "And love doesn't control. Love doesn't cage. Love sets free." We rushed into our house, and Nathan immediately started closing all the curtains while I stood frozen in the living room. Everything looked different now. The wedding photo on the mantel showing me with my parents, my mother's hand on my shoulder looked less affectionate and more possessive. The Christmas card they'd sent last week sitting on the coffee table, the message inside suddenly seemed manipulative rather than loving. "Pack a bag," Nathan said, moving through the house to check the locks on all the doors. "Clothes for a few days, toiletries, anything you can't live without." But I couldn't move. My legs felt like cement. 32 years of programming was screaming at me that I was being a terrible daughter, that I was breaking my family apart, that this was all my fault. "Peace," Nathan said gently, taking my hands. "I know this is hard, but we need to move quickly." "I should call Kevin," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I need to talk to my brother." Nathan nodded and handed me his phone since mine was turned off. My hands shook as I dialed Kevin's number. He answered on the second ring. "Nathan, it's me," I said. "It's Peace." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Peace? Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm home." Nathan and I left before we got to Mum and Dad's house. He saw things through their window, surveillance photos of me, legal papers, medical supplies. My voice cracked. Kevin, what's happening? What did they do to you? Kevin was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. I've been waiting 4 years for you to call me and ask me that question. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you, that I chose them over you. I don't even remember what you tried to tell me back then. Why can't I remember? Because they trained you not to, Kevin said. Peace. Our childhood wasn't normal. I didn't realize it until I went to college and saw how other families worked, how other parents treated their kids. I started going to therapy my junior year, and my therapist helped me understand what had happened to us. Tell me, I said. Please, I need to know. Kevin took a shaky breath. Do you remember having any privacy growing up? Any space that was just yours? I tried to think. My bedroom. There was something about my bedroom. Dad had cameras, I said slowly, the memory surfacing like something rising from deep water. In our rooms. He said it was for our safety. He watched us constantly, Kevin said, every moment. I found the recordings once when I was 15. Hours and hours of footage of us sleeping, changing clothes, crying, everything. When I confronted him about it, he locked me in my room for 2 days, told Mom to tell the school I was sick. My stomach turned. I don't remember that. You wouldn't. You were only 11. And they were very good at hiding things from you. They always treated you differently than me. I was the problem child who needed to be controlled. You were the perfect daughter who needed to be protected. 2 different kinds of prison. What else? I asked, needing to know even though each word felt like a knife. Do you remember your friend Amy? The name brought a fresh wave of pain. Mom said she was bullying me, that she was dangerous. Amy never bullied you, Peace. You two were inseparable. You were happier with her than I'd ever seen you. And Mom and Dad couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand that you had someone else you loved, someone else you confided in. So they destroyed her. How? They fabricated evidence, created fake text messages, photoshopped pictures to make it look like Amy was sending you threatening messages. They presented it all to the school. Amy got suspended. Her parents were so horrified they pulled her out of school entirely. The family's reputation was ruined. And you... Kevin's voice broke. You cried for weeks, and Mom just kept telling you that Amy was never really your friend, that only family could be trusted. I was crying now, tears streaming down my face. Nathan sat beside me, his arm around my shoulders. I tried to tell you the truth about Amy once, Kevin continued. You were 16. I showed you the real messages, the ones that proved Amy never threatened you. And you know what you did? What? I whispered. You told Mom and Dad. You showed them what I'd tried to tell you. And Dad... Kevin paused. Dad beat me so badly I couldn't walk right for a week. Told the school I'd been in a car accident. And you apologized to them, Peace. You apologized for doubting them. You promised to never question them again. No, I sobbed. No, I wouldn't have. Your brain protected you by making you forget, Kevin said gently. That's what trauma does. It hides the memories you can't handle. But your body remembers. That's why you get anxious around them. That's why you can't think clearly when they call. Your body knows they're dangerous even when your mind doesn't. Nathan held me tighter as I cried. When I was 16, I tried to run away, Kevin said. I packed a bag and tried to leave in the middle of the night. Dad caught me. He locked me in my room for 3 weeks. Bars on the windows, locks on the outside of the door. He brought me meals twice a day. Mom told the school I had mono. No one checked on me. No one questioned it. And when he finally let me out, I was different. Broken. I stopped fighting after that. I just survived until I could leave for college. Why didn't you take me with you? I asked. When you left for college, why didn't you get me out? I tried, Kevin said, his voice raw with pain. I called Child Protective Services twice, but Mum and Dad were so good at playing the perfect family. The house was always spotless. You always seemed happy when social workers visited. And I looked like the troubled kid making up stories. Nothing ever came of it. So I left. I got out and I stayed out. And I've hated myself every day since for leaving you there. It's not your fault, I said through my tears. None of this is your fault. 4 years ago, I tried to tell you everything. I was in therapy, I was healing, and I wanted to save you too. But they were listening to our phone call. Mom was right there with you, wasn't she? I searched my fragmented memories. Yes, she was standing next to me the whole time. And after we hung up, she told you I was having a breakdown, that I was sick, that you should stay away from me for a while, for my own good. Yes, I whispered, and I believed her. I believed everything they said. That's what they do, Kevin said. They isolate their victims. They control the narrative. They make you doubt your own reality. Peace. What they were planning to do today? Having you declared incompetent? Getting legal control over you? I think they've been working on this for months. Maybe since you got married, Nathan took you away from them, and they couldn't stand it. Nathan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know you're home. We're coming to talk. This can be easy or it can be hard. Your choice. Nathan showed me the screen. My blood ran cold. They're coming here, I said to Kevin. They just texted. They're on their way. Then you need to leave right now, Kevin said urgently. Right now, Peace. Don't wait, don't pack. Just get in the car and drive. I'm booking a flight. I'll be there in 6 hours, but you need to go somewhere public and safe until I arrive. Where? I asked, panic rising in my chest. Police station, Kevin said. Go straight to the police station. Tell them everything. Show them the text. File a report for stalking and harassment. Get a restraining order started. Don't let them get anywhere near you. Okay, I said, trying to steady my breathing. Okay. And Peace? Kevin's voice softened. I'm proud of you, for finally seeing the truth, for being strong enough to walk away. I know how hard this is. I love you, I said. I'm sorry I lost so many years with you. We'll make up for it, Kevin promised. Now go. Get to safety. I'll call you when I land. We hung up. Nathan was already grabbing his keys and wallet. We ran to the car and Nathan drove faster than I'd ever seen him drive. I kept looking back, expecting to see my parents' car following us. Every vehicle behind us made my heart race. They can't hurt you, Nathan kept saying. You're an adult. You're safe. We're going to the police. But I didn't feel safe. I felt like a child again, terrified of disappointing my parents, terrified of the consequences of disobedience. My whole body was shaking. The police station was only 10 minutes away, but it felt like hours. When we finally pulled into the parking lot, I saw a car that looked like my father's sedan turning onto the same street. Nathan saw it too. Come on, he said, taking my hand. Let's get inside. The officer at the front desk was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes. How can I help you? I need to report stalking, I said, my voice trembling, and attempted kidnapping. My parents... Your parents? The officer's eyebrows rose slightly. I know how it sounds, Nathan said, but please just listen. They've been surveilling her without consent. They were planning to drug her and have her falsely declared incompetent. We have evidence. The officer's expression turned serious. Come with me. She led us to a small interview room. Over the next hour, I told her everything. About the surveillance photos Nathan had seen, about the legal papers and the syringe, about the text messages threatening us, about Kevin's experiences, about the fake bullying accusations against Amy, about the cameras in our bedrooms, about the isolation and control. The officer took notes carefully. Do you have any of these text messages? Nathan showed her his phone. The threatening message was still there. We know you're home. We're coming to talk. This can be easy, or it can be hard. That's definitely threatening language, the officer said. She looked at me with compassion. I'm going to be honest with you. Cases involving family members are complicated. But what you're describing, surveillance without consent, threats, planning to administer drugs without permission, these are serious crimes. I'm going to start a report. I'm also going to send an officer to your parents' house to document the surveillance photos if they're still visible. What if they've taken them down already? I asked. Then we'll note that. But we still have your testimony, your husband's testimony, and these text messages. I'd also like to contact your brother. His statement would be valuable. I gave her Kevin's number. She stepped out to make some calls, leaving Nathan and me alone in the small room. I can't believe this is real, I whispered. I can't believe my whole life has been a lie. Not your whole life, Nathan said. The last 3 years with me have been real. Your job is real. Your art is real. Your friends are real. They controlled your past, but they don't control your future. The officer returned with another officer, a man who introduced himself as Detective Rodriguez. I've been briefed on the situation, he said. I just came from your parents' house. And? I asked, holding my breath. The surveillance photos are gone. The living room has been cleaned. But your parents were very agitated when we arrived. They claimed you've been having mental health issues and that they were planning an intervention today. They showed us documents from a psychiatrist recommending involuntary treatment. My stomach dropped. Those documents are fake or based on lies they told the doctor. That's what I suspected, Detective Rodriguez said. The psychiatrist they used is a friend of your father's. We'll be investigating that relationship. What concerns me more is that when we mentioned you'd filed a report about surveillance, your mother became extremely hostile. She made statements that could be interpreted as additional threats. What kind of statements? Nathan asked. She said, and I quote, "Peace doesn't understand what's best for her. We'll do whatever is necessary to bring our daughter home where she belongs." When I explained that you're an adult who can make your own choices, your father said, not if she's declared incompetent. It was clear they have a plan in place. Can you stop them? I asked desperately. We're issuing an emergency protective order, Detective Rodriguez said. Your parents cannot contact you or come within 500 feet of you. If they violate this order, they'll be arrested immediately. We're also opening an investigation into the surveillance, the fraudulent medical documents, and the threats. Depending on what we find, charges could range from stalking to attempted kidnapping. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in hours. Thank you. There's something else, the detective said. When we were leaving your parents' house, we noticed they were loading suitcases into their car. We asked where they were going, and they refused to answer. It's possible they're planning to leave town, which could complicate the investigation. Do you know of any other properties they own? Places they might go? I thought hard. They have a cabin, in the mountains about 3 hours north. They used to take us there when Kevin and I were kids. A memory surfaced, dark and unpleasant. Kevin hated going there. He used to cry and beg not to go. Detective Rodriguez and the officer exchanged glances. We'll look into that property, he said. In the meantime, I'd recommend you stay somewhere other than your home for the next few days. Do you have friends or family you can stay with? Kevin's flying in tonight, I said. We can get a hotel until he arrives. The detective gave us his card. Call me immediately if your parents contact you or if you remember anything else that might be relevant. And Ms. Henderson? What you did today took courage. A lot of victims of parental abuse never recognize it for what it is. You're doing the right thing. After we left the police station, Nathan drove us to a hotel across town. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. We checked in under Nathan's name, and he made sure our room was on a high floor with a view of the parking lot so we could see if anyone suspicious arrived. I sat on the hotel bed and finally turned my phone back on. There were 47 missed calls, 38 text messages, all from my parents or unknown numbers that I suspected were them calling from different phones. I didn't read most of the messages, but I read the last one, sent just 20 minutes ago from my mother's phone. You've made your choice. You've chosen to betray your family. You'll regret this. You don't know what you've done. You don't know what we're capable of. I showed it to Nathan. He immediately forwarded it to Detective Rodriguez. That sounds like a direct threat, Nathan said. They're making this worse for themselves. My phone rang. Kevin's name appeared on the screen. I answered immediately. I just landed, he said. I'm getting a rental car now. Where are you? I gave him the hotel address. Kevin, the police went to their house. Mum and Dad were packing suitcases. The detective thinks they might be running. Kevin was quiet for a moment. Or they're going to the cabin. That's what I thought too. Peace, listen to me carefully. Don't go anywhere near that cabin. Whatever memories you have of that place, I promise you the reality was worse. That's where the worst things happened. That's where... His voice broke. That's where they broke me. I can't talk about it yet, but promise me you'll stay away from there. I promise, I said, chills running down my spine. I'll be there in 40 minutes, Kevin said. Stay inside. Keep the door locked. I'm bringing copies of all my therapy records and documentation of everything they did. We're going to make sure they can never hurt anyone again. After we hung up, I looked at Nathan. What if they get away with this? What if their reputation protects them? Then we'll fight harder, Nathan said firmly. I leaned against Nathan, feeling the weight of 32 years pressing down on me. We sat in silence for a while, waiting for Kevin. The hotel room felt both safe and suffocating. I kept thinking about my parents loading their car, about that cabin in the mountains, about all the memories I'd buried. Tell me something good, I said to Nathan. Tell me about our future, after all this is over. Nathan pulled me closer. We're going to have a real Christmas, just us and Kevin, We'll make our own traditions. No walking on eggshells. No performing, just being together. I smiled through my tears. That sounds perfect. A knock on the door made us both jump. Nathan checked the peephole, then opened it. Kevin stood there, older than I remembered, with dark circles under his eyes but the same kind face I'd loved as a child. "Peace," he said, and I ran to him. We held each other and cried. 4 years of separation, of manipulation keeping us apart, melted away in that embrace. "I'm so sorry," I kept saying. "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you." "You're here now," Kevin said. "That's what matters. You got out." We spent the next hour talking. Kevin showed us his therapy records, documenting years of abuse. He'd kept a journal of everything he could remember, every incident, every manipulation. It was horrifying to read, but it was also validation. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that what happened to us was real. My phone rang. Detective Rodriguez. I put him on speaker. "Ms. Henderson, we've located your parents. They're at the mountain cabin. We sent officers to conduct a welfare check based on the threats they made. What we found there," he paused, "we found extensive documentation. Your parents kept records of everything. Journals detailing their plans to regain control over you. Medical records they'd falsified. Photos and surveillance footage going back months. And we found evidence of other concerning behavior related to your childhood." "What kind of evidence?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come to the station tomorrow? Bring your brother if possible. What I can tell you now is that we have enough evidence to charge your parents with multiple crimes: stalking, harassment, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, fraud related to the medical documents, and we're investigating additional charges related to your childhood." After the call ended, Kevin and I sat in stunned silence. This was really happening. Our parents were going to face consequences for what they'd done. "It feels surreal," I said. "Part of me still can't believe they're actually dangerous. That voice in my head keeps saying I'm overreacting." "That's the programming," Kevin said gently. "It takes time to undo. Years of therapy for me, and I still have moments where I doubt myself. But Peace, they were going to drug you. They were going to take away your freedom, your autonomy, your life. That's not love. That's ownership." Over the next few weeks, the truth came out piece by piece. The psychiatrist who'd signed the competency papers lost his license for falsifying documents. The investigation into my parents revealed a pattern of behavior spanning decades. Other people came forward. Neighbors who'd witnessed concerning things but had been afraid to speak up. Teachers who'd had suspicions but were intimidated into silence by my parents' reputation and threats of lawsuits. The cabin yielded the most disturbing evidence. Journals where my mother wrote about her plans to rescue me from Nathan's influence. Detailed surveillance logs. Videos of me that I never knew existed. And, most heartbreaking, childhood photos and videos that showed Kevin and me looking terrified, not happy. The perfect family image had been completely manufactured. My parents were charged and eventually pleaded guilty to lesser charges in exchange for avoiding trial. They received restraining orders, probation, and mandatory psychiatric evaluation. They lost their standing in the community, their perfect image shattered completely. I started therapy 3 times a week. It was hard work, excavating all those buried memories, learning to trust my own perceptions, understanding that my feelings were valid. Some days I felt strong, other days I felt like I was drowning in grief, not just for the childhood I'd lost, but for the parents I'd thought I had, the ones who'd never really existed. Kevin moved closer, taking a job in our city. We had dinner together twice a week, rebuilding the relationship our parents had tried to destroy. He was patient with me as I worked through my memories, helping me separate truth from the fiction I'd been fed. Nathan never once said "I told you so." He was just there, steady and solid, reminding me what healthy love looked like. Love that gave freedom instead of taking it. Love that supported instead of controlled. 3 months after that Christmas Day, I was sitting in my therapist's office, talking about forgiveness. "Everyone keeps asking if I'll forgive them," I said. "Like that's the goal. Like that's what healing looks like." My therapist looked at me thoughtfully. "What do you think forgiveness means?" "I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be able to say what they did was okay. Because it wasn't. They traumatized me. They traumatized Kevin. They stole our childhoods. They tried to steal my adult life too." "Forgiveness doesn't mean saying it was okay," my therapist said. "It means releasing yourself from the prison of anger and pain. But peace, you get to decide what that looks like for you. You don't owe them anything. Not even forgiveness. That felt revolutionary. I didn't owe them anything. Kevin and I eventually did retrieve some belongings from our childhood home before it was sold. Walking through those rooms felt like visiting a crime scene. I saw the places where cameras had been hidden, the locks that had been on the outside of Kevin's bedroom door, the filing cabinet where my father had hidden the acceptance letter to art camp. But I also found something else. In the attic, in a box labelled Peace Childhood, I found drawings I'd made as a little girl, pictures of families that didn't look like mine, pictures of children playing freely, laughing, being held gently instead of gripped tightly. Even as a child, some part of me had known what real love should look like. I took those drawings home. They reminded me that the real me, the free, creative, joyful me, had always been there, buried under layers of control and fear. That little girl had survived, and now she could finally live. 6 months later, Kevin, Nathan, and I celebrated Christmas together. We had no elaborate plans, no perfect decorations, no performance of family harmony. We ordered pizza, watched silly movies, and exchanged small, meaningful gifts. Kevin gave me a journal for my thoughts. Nathan gave me a set of professional art supplies. I gave them both matching photo frames with pictures of the three of us from a recent dinner, all of us genuinely smiling, genuinely happy. "This is what family should feel like," Kevin said, looking around at our messy, imperfect, joyful celebration. "This is what family does feel like," I corrected him. "This is real." I thought about my parents sometimes, still living in the shadow of their ruined reputation. I wondered if they understood what they'd done, if they felt remorse or just anger at being caught. My therapist said I might never know, and I had to make peace with that. But I was making peace with a lot of things. Peace with my imperfect memories, peace with the fact that healing wasn't linear, peace with the reality that I'd lost years with Kevin but we had years ahead, peace with the understanding that the people who were supposed to protect me had been the ones I needed protection from. Most importantly, I was making peace with myself, with the parts of me that had survived by forgetting, with the parts that had cooperated to stay safe, with the parts that still felt guilty sometimes, that still heard my mother's voice telling me I was being ungrateful. Nathan's instinct that Christmas Day had saved me from whatever my parents had planned. But more than that, it had saved me from a lifetime of never questioning, never seeing, never breaking free. I never saw my parents the same way again. I saw them clearly for the first time, not as the loving protectors they'd pretended to be, but as the controllers they'd always been. And in seeing that truth, painful as it was, I found something infinitely more valuable. I found myself. I found freedom. I found a future that was truly mine to create. And I discovered that family isn't about blood, or obligation, or perfect Christmas dinners. Family is about people who love you enough to let you be yourself, who trust you to make your own choices, who celebrate your independence instead of fearing it. I had that now, with Nathan, with Kevin, with the therapist who guided me through the darkness, with the friends I was finally allowing myself to make without fear. That 2-minute car ride from my parents' house to the coffee shop had changed everything. Nathan's 5 words, "Turn the car around right now," had been the beginning of my real life. Sometimes I drove past my parents' old house, now owned by another family. I wondered if those rooms held the echoes of all the pain they'd witnessed. But then I'd drive home to Nathan, maybe stop by Kevin's apartment, maybe sketch in my journal or paint something just because I wanted to. And I'd remember, I was free. Finally. Completely. Beautifully free. The surveillance photos were gone. The legal documents were voided. The control was broken. I was 32 years old, and for the first time in my life, I was living on my own terms. That was the greatest Christmas gift I'd ever received, even though it came wrapped in pain and truth and hard conversations. Even though it meant accepting that my childhood had been stolen and my parents weren't who I'd needed them to be. Because now I had something they could never take away. My own life, my own choices, my own future, and I was never, ever going back.